So this is what we're going to try and create today, working in clipping masks and such, pictures and images, things we've already done. So it's pretty straightforward. Don't be too intimidated by it. So the first thing we can do is go to File, New. I'm going to go to Web. I'm going to hit Most Common Web. And then we'll come up with a white canvas. First thing we're going to do now is go down, make sure we're on the layer mask, which we are. Click on the text tool and then type in whatever word you want and use the word soccer. And then of course you can change the colors by double clicking on this and change the colors from there, but this is suitable. Alright, use my move tool and then hit Control T. Control T is for transform, and then from here I should be able to then select it and pull the sides out to make it bigger. If I want to stretch it, I'll hold the Shift key. So I'll stretch it a little bit here, holding the Shift key now, pulling this down, and I think, oops, yeah, that'll work. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is click on this, and across the top here you can see the center. Make sure I'm on the move tool, click on the center, and then the center here, and it'll put it in the middle of my page. So from here we're going to go to Gradient Overlay, and we go down to FX, make sure that we are selected on that layer, and then go down to FX. Doesn't want to select the layer. Okay, go down to FX, and then basically Gradient Overlay. From here you can select the colors that you want. I've got this dark color, and basically I'm using a 59 angle. I've reversed this because before it was like this, so I hit the reverse, and I've made sure that I'm using a gradient of a radial gradient. This is a linear gradient. I don't want linear gradient. I want to make sure I'm using the radial gradient. The radial gradient, and I'm using it with this dark color here. Okay, if you want to change colors, just click on these, go through these colors, and select one of these. Once you've done that, click OK. Once we've clicked OK, come over to the layer mask here, sorry, not the layer mask, but the layer, and then right click, and we're going to convert to Smart Object. Once we've done that, we're going to take our image that we want to bring in. I've got this player here that we're going to bring in. I've already cut the background out. If you don't know how to do that, just go to Window and go down to Contextual Bar, and then hit Remove Background when the contextual bar comes up. Once you've done that, you can use your masking, your brush, black and white brush, to paint back in or take out as you need to. So once I've got my background cut out, I'm just going to move this over to the project, which is this one. Bring this in. I'm going to make the adjustments to make it smaller. Holding the side, pulling this down. Do not hold Shift for this. If you hold Shift, you'll distort it. What you don't want to do, you don't want to see a super skinny, squashed, or super large person. That's too distorted. We want to make sure that we're keeping the proportions, and then pulling this in and out to where you think would look good. So I'm going to put it in about here. I got some good negative spaces going on. I can always add more white background if I need to later. So now this is no different to put in an image in text, so we know how to do that. I select my top layer here. I hold my Alt key. I'll hover between the two layers until I see that arrow in the square, and I click on it. That's going to create a clipping mask, and it's going to put the player inside. From here I'm going to go to the FX, and I'm going to hit Drop Shadow. And I got some specific settings for you here. So we're going to go at 72 opacity. So opacity will be 72. The angle of that shadow we're going to put at 41. And then the distance we'll use will be 13. And then the spread we'll use 15. And then for size we'll use 54. Once you've done that, click OK. Once we've done that, we want to make a layer. So there's a couple of ways of doing that. We can click on the layer. We can drag it to the bottom here next to the trash can. It'll give us a layer. or we can make sure we're on the layer and hit Control J. It should give us a duplicate as well. Once we get the duplicate, all we're going to do then is turn off the, let me get my duplicate here, and I'm going to turn off the shadow effects for this one. Then go down to put a mask on. That's next to the FX, the add the layer mask. So I'm going to click on that, and we should get a white dialog box next to it. Oops. We want to work on this mask right here. So as you can see, the layer mask is currently white. We want to reverse this, and if you hold Control I, it'll reverse it into a black mask. Once we've done that, go ahead and get your paintbrush. Make sure you're using your actual brush tool, and then depending on the size of brush you've got, you want a hard edge, and make sure you're on the mask here. And once you've got that, you should be able to paint in. If when you're using a brush, you're trying to brush and nothing's happening, make sure you got the right color, black or white. And then the other thing is here we have to release this clipping mask. So what I'm going to do is right click on the arrow here, and I want to release the clipping mask. So go down here where it says release clipping mask, and then you should be able to see the things that you can paint in here. So I'm taking my paintbrush here and I'm painting in. Down here I want to use a smaller brush and use my brackets to make it smaller. And I want to be a little bit careful of where I actually paint the feet. Well, not so much the feet, but the overlap of the text. So I'm going to paint that in. That's pretty quick and easy. But I'll leave the ball inside the text here, and I'll bring it out just a tad, so I can see that as a different shape. And I can see his leg there, so we'll put his leg back in as well. And that should be it. So in here, I don't necessarily want to show too much inside here. It depends on what you want to show actually. So I'm actually I'll paint that part in, and I want to keep some of this negative space here going on, but I will bring in some of his shorts here because it looks a little bit weird. So just bring that in. I want to maintain some of the characteristics of the letters. I can see a little bit of something I don't like in here, so I want to make the brush a bit smaller, go back in and paint that back out. My brush is frozen, so I can't do a great deal right there. So that's basically it. We can put a background on it here if we need to. But in essence, that's it. We can put some drop shadows on. We can put some beveled edges on the text. So if I want to go to the text and put bevel edge on it, we can do that. I can put a drop shadow on the player if I want to. So I click OK, go to the player, put a drop shadow on him. So there's a couple of fine details that you can do towards the end. Put a bit of a drop shadow. I notice on his ankle here, I've missed a little bit of his ankle, so I want to go back to the mask here. I want to get the paintbrush and just paint in. I want to reverse this. I want to paint in here. Put that back in there. So make sure I got his whole foot in. That's it. Hopefully it makes sense. Take your time, follow the video step by step, freeze it. Make sure you got all the settings right. Go for it.